The day we were supposed to get our marriage license, I waited all morning at City Hall. Sophia never showed up. I called her again and again, at least a dozen times, but every call went straight to voicemail. Panic was already clawing at my chest when my phone buzzed. A picture had come in from Kayla Gordon, her assistant. It was a photo of Sophia and Caleb, lying together in a hotel bed, fast asleep. A message appeared underneath. Leo, Sophia worked super late last night. I figured I'd let her sleep in. I'll have her call you when she wakes up. Okay. I stared at the screen as a roaring buzz filled my ears. The world seemed to drain of color, turning gray. Sir, are you okay? A clerk asked, grabbing my arm as my knees buckled beneath me. After a long moment, the world snapped back into focus, sharp, cruel, and painfully clear. In that instant, every ounce of love I had for Sophia shattered completely, leaving behind nothing but an icy, hollow devastation. I picked up my phone and typed a reply to Caleb. Forget it. Just leave the trash where it is. Back at the office, I walked straight to my desk, opened my laptop, and started a new document. Resignation letter. As my fingers moved across the keyboard, memories flooded in like an unstoppable tide. 3 years ago, when Sophia took over her family's company, Reed Innovations, the suppliers didn't trust her. They froze contracts, waiting to see whether the new CEO would sink or swim. Projects stalled, credit lines were on the verge of collapsing, and she was terrified. I was deeply in love with her, so I didn't hesitate. I quit my job and joined her team. To pull the company back from the edge, I gave everything I had. Using my engineering background, I led the development of a groundbreaking new product that left competitors far behind. I pulled countless all-nighters, negotiating with key suppliers and securing better terms. And finally, I landed a major investor who injected the capital we desperately needed. The company was saved. The turnaround became legendary in the industry, and Sophia was celebrated as the new Iron Lady of Tech. At the gala held to celebrate, I finally worked up the courage to propose. She said yes through tears of joy. In that moment, I was the happiest man alive. But somewhere along the way, things began to change. Slowly, the smiles disappeared from Sophia's face, replaced by a sharp, calculating gaze. Drowning in praise from the outside world, she fell in love with the feeling of being admired, of having absolute control. When we discussed strategies, she stopped listening to my analysis. She shut me down with cold, unquestionable authority, often in front of others. She even insisted we downplay our relationship at work, calling it maintaining professionalism. Her attitude toward Caleb, her new assistant, couldn't have been more different. He was a recent graduate, clumsy, inexperienced, and prone to mistakes. Yet Sophia never got angry with him. Instead, she reassured him gently. At first, I brushed it off. Then she started taking him to concerts, art festivals, and long dinners, things that went far beyond anything professional. That was when I realized something was seriously wrong. I tried to talk to her, to remind her that he was her employee and I was her fiancé. Every conversation ended the same way, in a bitter argument. And now this. Standing me up on the very day we were supposed to make things official, all for him. It was finally, painfully clear. It was time to let go. The resignation letter was still warm in my hand when my office door flew open without a knock. Sophia stood there, her expression frozen and sharp. Leo. Conference room. Now. Before I could respond, she turned and walked away. I set the letter on my desk and followed her. Every department head and senior manager was already seated when I entered the conference room. I'm announcing a decision, Sophia said, her gaze sweeping over the room. Her voice carried a regal authority that allowed no objections. In light of his outstanding performance, particularly in handling market feedback and client communications, I've decided to promote Caleb Gordon to Associate Director of Marketing. He'll be assisting Director Vance with his duties. A stunned silence followed. People exchanged confused looks. Caleb had been here for only a few months. His main responsibilities were fetching coffee and taking meeting notes. And now he was being promoted straight to associate director, skipping the entire corporate ladder. Caleb stood up, his face carefully arranged into an expression of surprise and humility. He bowed slightly. "Thank you, Ms. Reed, for your trust. My experience is limited, so I look forward to learning from all of you." A short, sharp laugh escaped me. It had taken me 3 years of relentless work, of bleeding for this company, to become director of marketing. And with a single sentence, Sophia had made her little pet project my second in command. She was deliberately provoking me. As if she sensed my reaction, Sophia's eyes locked onto mine. "Leo, you're experienced," she said coolly. "You know it takes time for new leaders to get up to speed. Our new product launch is in 3 days. This is the perfect opportunity for you to mentor him." "I refuse." My voice was colder than I had ever allowed it to be with her. Marketing doesn't need a two-faced sycophant who only knows how to play innocent and suck up. The room fell completely silent. No one had ever seen me, the man who had always stood by Sophia's side, defy her so openly, especially with such brutal honesty. Caleb's face turned pale. His eyes filled with tears, as though he had been gravely wounded. I know Director Vance has misunderstandings about me," he said weakly. "Please, just give me a chance. I'll work hard. I won't disappoint you, Miss Reed." Sophia's expression softened instantly, overflowing with sympathy. She pulled a tissue from her purse and gently dabbed his eyes. Then she turned back to me, her face hardening into pure fury. "Leo. My office." Her voice was low, charged with an approaching storm. I stood, my face completely blank, and followed her out. The moment her office door closed, her tone changed, becoming uncharacteristically gentle. "Leo, I know you're acting out because of this morning," she said. "I forgot about City Hall." The lie slid effortlessly off her tongue. "I had a last-minute meeting with a massive client. I couldn't get out of it. You know I did it for the company, for our future. We can get the license anytime. Once things calm down, we'll pick another day." She sighed. "Even if you're angry, take it out on me. Don't bring this negativity into work." How ironic. The first time I'd heard that gentle tone from her in months, and it was all a lie. All to protect another man. "You've gotten good at acting, Sophia," I said, giving her a sarcastic thumbs up. "Spending time with Caleb has really improved your range. You don't even blush anymore." "Leo, you don't believe me?" A flash of panic crossed her face, but she forced herself to stand firm. I held up my phone, the picture of them in bed displayed clearly on the screen. "You must have been working incredibly hard, Miss Reed. Taking client meetings in hotel beds now. That's a level of dedication I can only dream of." Her eyes flicked to the screen and she rushed to explain. "I was exhausted from working late. Caleb took me to a hotel, but we got separate rooms. Nothing happened. I didn't tell you because I knew you'd overthink it. How many times have we fought because of your jealousy? I'm tired of it. Your ability to twist reality is truly impressive, Miss Reed," I replied coldly. "No wonder they call you the Iron Lady." That jab struck a nerve. It was like tossing a match into gasoline. "Don't push me, Leo," Sophia snapped. "This promotion is a notification, not a negotiation. You don't have the right to refuse." The old me would have been terrified of her anger, desperate to smooth things over. But now, as I looked at her, all I felt was a deep, settled emptiness. "As long as I'm the director of marketing," I said calmly, "if you dare put him on my team, I'll find 100 ways to make his life a living hell." I waved a dismissive hand, unwilling to continue the conversation, and walked out of her office. Crash. Something heavy slammed into the door behind me. I didn't resign immediately for one reason: the new product launch was in 3 days. I had no feelings left for Sophia, but that product represented months of my team's blood, sweat, and tears. I couldn't let it fail. I decided I would see it through the launch, and then I would leave for good. When I returned to my office, the resignation letter I'd left on my desk was gone. I didn't think much of it and went back to preparing for the presentation. After work, I returned to the condo I shared with Sophia, our so-called marital home, and started packing. There wasn't much of mine to take. Mostly professional books, industry reports, a few suits, and some personal items. All the warmth, all the feeling of home, was tied to her belongings. I was halfway done when I heard the electronic lock beep and the click of high heels against the hardwood floor. I froze. Sophia rarely came home this early. "Leo, you here?" she called out. "I'm starving. Is there anything to eat?" I pushed the suitcase aside and walked out of the bedroom. Well. What brings our busy CEO back to her humble abode? "Oh, stop it, Leo," she said, waving it off. "It's been a whole day. You should be over it by now. I'm craving your signature cooking. Will you make it for me tonight?" Just like that. In the past, after every fight, I'd be the one to swallow my pride. She'd extend a small olive branch like this, and I'd rush gratefully back into her arms. Over time, she'd come to expect it. "Sorry," I said flatly. "The kitchen hasn't been used in a while. If you're hungry, order something." Her brow furrowed. "Can you stop talking to me like that? You never used to be this way." "I tried talking to you nicely before," I shot back, leaning against the sofa with a mocking look. "You didn't like that either. You still gave me that stone-cold face every time." She stood there, speechless with anger, forcing herself to calm down before walking into the kitchen. A minute later, she returned holding 2 cups of instant ramen. "See," she said softly. "When I'm not here, you don't even take care of yourself. The launch is just around the corner. Our director of marketing can't work on an empty stomach." The sight of the ramen hit me with a wave of nostalgia. Back when Reed Innovations was on the brink of collapse, we lived on instant ramen she made for us during endless nights of work. I used to joke that I could eat her ramen for the rest of my life and never get tired of it. Seeing the brief warmth flicker in my eyes, Sophia seized the moment. "I know you have issues with Caleb," she said gently, "but trust me, he's a good kid. Just mentor him a little. Please." So that was the real reason. Of course it was. For a moment, I'd slipped into a beautiful memory, and she couldn't even let me keep that. "He can join the marketing department in 3 days, I said, not wanting to argue anymore. I gave her a deadline, knowing it didn't matter. By then, I'd be gone. I knew my fiancé was the most generous man in the world, she chirped, smiling brightly. She leaned in and gave my cheek a quick kiss. God, I'm exhausted. My shoulders are killing me. Come on, you have to give me one of your massages. I missed you so much. She stretched dramatically and headed toward the bedroom. I wiped her kiss from my cheek with the back of my hand, my eyes cold as ice. Leo, what is this? Sophia had come back out, dragging my half-packed suitcase behind her. Since she'd found it, there was no point hiding anymore. It's exactly what it looks like, I said. Sophia, we're done. She laughed. Oh, Leo, you're a grown man. Are you really stooping to childish games like this? It's pathetic. Before I could respond, her phone rang. She answered, and I faintly heard Caleb's panicked voice on the other end. Miss Reed, I'm so sorry. I messed up the files you gave me to organize. What do I do? Sophia's voice instantly softened. Don't worry. I'm on my way. It's fine, we have backups. Just don't touch anything. I'll be right there to fix it. She headed for the door, then turned back and pointed at my suitcase. "We'll talk about this when I get back. And don't you dare try some childish stunt like running away. I don't have time to play games with you." A cold, hollow laugh slipped from my lips as I watched her two-faced performance. I didn't wait for her return. I zipped up my suitcase and walked out of that cold, empty house without a single shred of regret. For the next 2 days, I buried myself in work, finalizing everything for the product launch. The night before the event, I received an email with a single attachment. It was my resignation letter, with Sophia's neat, perfect signature approving it. "Leo," Caleb said, standing in my doorway and waving the printed document in front of my face. "Miss Reed has accepted your resignation. You can pack your things now." He smirked. "And you don't need to attend the launch tomorrow." Sophia knew how much this launch meant to me. She would never have approved my resignation right before it. Something was wrong. "So," I said calmly, looking up at him, "our new associate director plans to use this launch to make a name for himself." Caught red-handed, Caleb showed no shame, only smug triumph. "Don't worry," he said. "I'm going to prove I'm every bit as good as you." "Well then," I replied smoothly, "I'll be watching your perfect performance tomorrow with great interest." I calmly packed the few remaining personal items in my office, my movements slow and composed. The product was fully designed, every phase meticulously planned. It was ready. As for Caleb trying to steal my thunder, I wasn't worried. He didn't have the talent. "By the way," I added, holding up the signed resignation letter, "to thank you for this, let me give you a piece of advice." Caleb's eyes lit up. "Bring a change of pants to the launch tomorrow," I said with a thin smile. "I'd hate for you to have an accident on stage." The launch event for Reed Innovations' new Aura phone was a spectacle of light and sound. The venue was packed with media, cameras aimed at the stage like a firing squad. The air crackled with anticipation, yet I, the man who had spearheaded the entire project, was nowhere to be seen. Backstage, Sophia paced back and forth, calling my phone again and again, only to hear the same cold automated voice every time. "The person you're calling is unavailable." The minutes dragged on. The guests were already seated. The pre-show music had begun to play. "Ms. Reed," Caleb said, spotting his chance, "it looks like Leo might be held up. Maybe I should go on." Seeing her hesitation, he puffed out his chest. "Don't worry, Ms. Reed. I've studied all of Director Vance's presentation materials and the core product specs dozens of times. I've got this." Sophia took a deep breath. "Fine. There's no other choice. Caleb, you're on. Stick to the core features and advantages. Keep it concise and accurate. Go." "You can count on me, Ms. Reed," he replied. A triumphant gleam flashed in Caleb's eyes. He grabbed his notes, adjusted his brand-new, perfectly tailored suit, and strode confidently onto the stage. The spotlights hit him, and he beamed as he scanned the crowd like he owned the world. This was the moment he had dreamed of. "Our brand-new Aura phone series uses a revolutionary OmniDrive architecture," he announced, his voice clear and strong. "Through algorithmic optimization and hardware synergy, we've boosted computational efficiency in core applications by over 80%. At the same time, we've reduced power consumption by 20% in typical usage scenarios." Caleb spoke with practiced ease, laying out the technical specifications, market positioning, and key features one by one. He even added some of his own forward-thinking analysis that hadn't been in my original notes, earning nods from the press and a constant barrage of camera flashes. Watching from a monitor backstage, Sophia's tense shoulders slowly relaxed. She looked at Caleb with unmistakable admiration. After a round of thunderous applause, Caleb wrapped up his presentation, standing proudly on stage. Then came the Q&A. "You said the Aura phone is targeting the high-end business market," a journalist from a major tech publication began. But its price point is 15% higher than your main competitor Apex Dynamics' flagship product. How does Reed Innovations plan to bridge this huge gap between your pricing strategy and market reality? Are you relying solely on brand prestige? Caleb froze. He had no idea how the pricing strategy had been developed. He stumbled through vague corporate platitudes about confidence and overcoming challenges. Another reporter stood up. Your phone uses the new Dragonfly chip, but currently only one manufacturer in the world, TCP, can produce it reliably. Rumor has it TCP Corp's main production line has been severely impacted by a recent scandal. How can Reed Innovations guarantee sufficient inventory for the launch and a stable supply chain moving forward? I can assure you all, Caleb said, wiping sweat from his forehead, that the Aura supply is absolutely not an issue. The questions kept coming, each one sharper and more technical than the last. Having only memorized a PowerPoint, Caleb was completely out of his depth. Soon he was drenched in sweat, stammering and visibly lost. The atmosphere in the room shifted, from excitement to confusion, then to irritation. Sophia's face darkened. She strode onto the stage and took the microphone. My sincerest apologies. Due to unforeseen circumstances, we will have to conclude the press conference here. We will organize an online Q&A session soon to address any remaining questions. The entire event ended in an awkward, humiliating fizzle. The sharp, furious clicking of Sophia's heels against the marble floor of the executive wing announced her rage. Leo, you owe me an explanation, she shouted, throwing open my office door, only to find it completely empty. The only thing left behind was a single sunflower plant on the windowsill, a gift she had once given me. Sunflowers symbolize faith and loyalty, she had told me. They represent the devotion in our love. Her own words echoed in her mind as pure dread clenched her heart. She rushed to the HR department, her voice trembling slightly. Ms. Davis, what happened to Leo's office? Startled by the CEO's panicked expression, Ms. Davis replied respectfully, Ms. Reed, Director Vance has officially completed his resignation process. What? Sophia felt as if she'd been struck by lightning. When did this happen? Don't I have to approve his resignation? But you already signed it, ma'am, the HR director said timidly, handing her the document. Mr. Gordon brought it to me himself yesterday. Sophia stared at her own signature. She remembered now. Caleb had brought her a stack of documents to sign the day before, hovering beside her, showering her with flattery and admiration, distracting her until she signed everything without reading a single page. She never imagined Leo's resignation letter had been buried in that pile. An icy chill raced from her feet to her scalp. The world spun. Seeing her sway, Caleb hurried forward. Ms. Reed, it's all my fault. I was careless. I should have reminded you what was in the files. Normally, this pitiful display would have earned him sympathy and forgiveness. But not this time. Sophia's eyes were bloodshot. She spun around and slapped him hard across the face, the sound echoing through the quiet office. How dare you, she screamed, her voice warped by raw fury. I'm not an idiot. Don't think I don't know what you were trying to do. Ms. Reed, the veteran HR director said carefully, perhaps you should go home and check. Yes, home, Sophia muttered, a desperate hope lighting her eyes. Leo must be at home waiting for me. She raced out of the office and drove straight home, the memory of my packed suitcase from days earlier fueling her panic. She burst through the door to find the condo just as empty as my office. Everything that belonged to me, every book, every suit, every trace of my existence, was gone. No, Sophia whispered, forcing a calm she didn't feel. Leo loves me too much. He wouldn't just leave. He's just playing hard to get. That's all. She pulled out her phone, hands shaking, and dialed Caleb's number. Her final command was cold and absolute. Find Leo. Find out where he is. If you can't, don't even think about coming back. While Reed Innovations was collapsing, I was watching everything unfold via live stream from the VIP lounge at O'Hare. Watching Caleb self-destruct on stage, I felt nothing, until a surge of pure, unfiltered satisfaction ran through me. I stood up, clenched my fist to stop it from shaking, and finally couldn't hold it in anymore. I burst out laughing. "Serves you right, Sophia," I muttered at the screen. "Now you see what your precious little pet is really made of." "Huh." A laugh nearby cut through my thoughts. I looked over and saw a familiar woman glued to her phone, cackling with delight. "Hey, this is a public place. Have some class," I grumbled. Lauren Sinclair looked up. The smile on her face froze, then melted into a dramatic eye roll. "Leo Vance. What are you doing here?" I knew my eye was twitching all morning. Should have known it was a bad omen. Lauren was the CEO of Apex Dynamics, Sophia's fiercest competitor. For years, our companies had been locked in brutal corporate warfare. Thanks largely to my work, Reed Innovations usually came out on top, which made Lauren treat Sophia and me like sworn enemies whenever we crossed paths. She paused, then her expression sharpened. "Wait a second. What is the great director Vance doing here? Shouldn't you be at your own product launch?" She glanced down at her phone, where footage of the disastrous press conference was still playing. "I can be wherever I want," I said, closing my eyes. "Mind your own business." But she wasn't finished. She leaned closer, a wicked grin spreading across her face. "Trouble in paradise," she teased, or did Sophia finally find herself a new boy toy? "Go on," she said lightly. "Tell me. I could use something to brighten my day." The truth felt like an open wound. I ignored her, pretending she wasn't even there. Lauren let out a dismissive huff and went back to scrolling on her phone. I didn't know how long I drifted in and out of sleep, but I was jolted awake by a sudden commotion. "Ma'am, you can't go in there. Please, you need to leave." I opened my eyes just in time to see Sophia shoving past an airport employee and storming into the lounge. Her hair was disheveled, and her eyes locked onto me with a desperate, almost frantic intensity. "Leo, are you done with this tantrum?" she demanded. "Come home with me." "Sorry, Ms. Reed," I replied coolly. "I've already resigned." "Leo, I know you're just throwing a fit because I've been spending time with Caleb," she said, lowering her voice. "I promise I'll keep my distance from him." "Is that what you want to hear?" "Oh, no. Don't do that on my account," I said with an easy smile. "I'm actually starting to ship you too. You should make it official." "Leo, don't be like this," she pleaded, her voice cracking. "The launch was a disaster. I need you right now. Please come back to me." She reached for my arm. I pulled away sharply. The motion wasn't violent, but my rejection was absolute. "Sophia, there's nothing left between us. Please stop harassing me." Her face went pale. "You're lying, Leo," she whispered, her voice slipping into raw desperation. "You promised you'd take care of me for the rest of our lives. Have you forgotten?" I replied evenly. "Why don't you let your little assistant take care of you? I clearly wasn't doing a very good job." She shook her head frantically. "How many times do I have to tell you? I just see him as a little brother." I pulled out my phone and played a video a friend had sent me. It was security footage from the hotel the night before our City Hall appointment. It clearly showed Sophia and Caleb entering a single hotel room together, embracing, and not coming out until noon the next day. Is this what you call separate rooms and nothing happened? It's not what it looks like. Let me explain. This doesn't prove anything. I stared her down, my voice steady and sharp, stripping away the last layer of her delusion. The moment you agreed to spend an entire night alone in a hotel room with another man, what did or didn't happen in that room stopped mattering to me. Do you understand? The color drained from her face. Cornered and exposed, she snapped, the truth finally bursting out in a torrent of rage. "What do you know?" she shouted. "If you were a little more needy, if you relied on me more instead of being so damn brilliant and capable all the time, maybe I wouldn't have had to look for comfort somewhere else." In that instant, I understood everything. She had become addicted to being admired, to being needed. All my hard work, all my success, everything I did to protect and support her, it had become a threat in her eyes, something she couldn't fully control. The fragile, incompetent Caleb was the perfect outlet for her growing savior complex. My entire worldview cracked apart. So being too good at my job was my original sin? I said flatly. "That's some truly touching logic, Sophia. If your maternal instincts are that strong, why don't you go adopt a child? Why dig through a dumpster to find trash like Caleb?" "Leo, you bastard," she screamed, shaking with fury. Every attempt at pleading, compromise, or weakness shattered completely. "Don't think for a second I can't survive without you. Reed Innovations will be just fine." "Oh, really?" The sarcastic smile on my face deepened, mixed with a profound sense of relief. I grabbed my suitcase. "Then I wish you the best of luck." My words were light, but they hit her like a slap. I walked past her without another glance, but out of the corner of my eye, I noticed Lauren Sinclair. The renowned CEO of Apex Dynamics was sitting in the corner, munching popcorn and watching the whole scene like it was the finale of a hit reality show. On the plane, I buckled my seatbelt and closed my eyes, ready to shut out the world. Then a familiar voice came from the seat beside me. "I seriously need to start reading my horoscope. My luck today is just abysmal." My headache worsened during the flight. I could feel her staring at me non-stop. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore and opened my eyes to meet her gaze. Her eyes were wide, practically screaming "spill the tea," her expression bursting with unasked questions. "Just ask whatever you want to ask," I sighed. "I don't want you hurting yourself holding it in." Her face lit up like a Christmas tree. She leaned forward eagerly. "Really? Okay, no holding back. What's the hot, juicy, scandalous gossip between you, Sophia, and that little wilting flower she's obsessed with? Are you sure you're the ruthless CEO of Apex Dynamics?" I asked. "Excuse me, it's after hours," she shot back with a pout. "Do you expect me to keep my work face on 24/7? Let me live a little." She leaned in again. "Come on. Tell me." "No comment," I said, crossing my arms. "Hey." Her excitement evaporated into a dramatic pout. "Then why did you tell me to ask? Take it back. So stingy." She turned away and started watching something on her tablet. The plane landed in the sun-drenched beauty of Miami, the city Sophia and I had once dreamed of visiting together. Now, I was here alone. After grabbing my luggage, I took the hotel shuttle and checked in. As I pulled out my key card, I heard a beep from the room directly across the hall. The door opened. I looked up, my heart sinking at the sheer cosmic absurdity of it. "You have got to be kidding me," Lauren and I said in perfect unison. The next morning, the sun was blazing. I threw on casual clothes and sunglasses, ready to explore the city and clear my head. The moment I opened my door, Lauren's smiling face greeted me. I figured it all out," she declared proudly. "As Reed Innovations' top competitor, I keep very close tabs on every move they make." "Right," I said, walking past her without slowing down. "Oh, don't be mad," she chirped, falling into step beside me. "It's Sophia's loss." She tossed away a diamond to pick up a worthless rock. "Lauren, what do you want?" I stopped and faced her, frowning. "My point is," she said, puffing out her chest and giving me a playful wink, "since Sophia doesn't want you, you should be with me." Huh? I was completely lost. "Oh, no." She backpedaled quickly. "I mean, join Apex. With us working together, we'd absolutely crush Reed Innovations. Will make Sophia regret the day she was born. Not interested. Later, on the beach, I stared at Lauren as she happily sipped from a coconut. I already told you I'm not interested. I expected you to say that, she replied calmly. Even the best salespeople get rejected a few times first. I'm confident I can win you over. Lauren, don't you have some kind of business event to attend? I tried to steer her back to reality. My most important business right now is poaching you, she declared. My assistants can handle the small stuff. Suddenly, she pulled out a massive water gun from nowhere. All right, no more work talk. Time to relax. And with that, she opened fire. For the next few weeks, wherever I went, Lauren was there, like she'd planted a GPS tracker on me. When I wandered through the city's historic cobblestone alleys, she followed close behind with ice cream in hand, acting as my personal tour guide. When I hiked to fog-shrouded mountain peaks, she trailed after me, panting and complaining the entire way, only to shout with renewed excitement at the summit. This view is incredible. We spent nearly a month like that. She was thoughtful and handled everything effortlessly, yet she never once brought up her offer for me to join Apex again. One evening, standing by the pier at South Point Park, I finally couldn't hold it in anymore. All right, Lauren, I said, have you decided to abandon Apex Dynamics? Are you switching careers to become my personal tour guide? Of course not. That's the empire my father built for me, she said, hands on her hips, staring at me like I'd lost my mind. Did you really think I was just messing around with you all day? She pulled out her phone and waved it in front of my face conspiratorially. Behold the magic of technology. I've been handling all my meetings, approvals, and decisions late at night while you were sound asleep. For a brief moment, I thought I saw faint dark circles under her eyes. Hey, Leo, let's go see a puppet show tomorrow, she said, already planning our next adventure, her eyes sparkling with excitement. I'm done playing, I said, shaking my head. She froze, a flicker of anxiety flashing across her face. I stood up and stretched. Can't just have fun all the time. A man's got to earn a living. So, what are the benefits like at Apex? Lauren stared at me, stunned. A second later, her eyes widened as if a million stars had exploded inside them. Leo, are you serious? You'll do it? Yeah, I nodded. Yes. That's amazing, she yelled, jumping up and down like a kid. You can name your salary. She suddenly stopped, her expression shifting, and lunged at me playfully. Wait a minute. You were just messing with me before. You can't blame me when I start. I laughed, dodging her attack. We'll see how you perform, she said with an arrogant pout. And we're still going to the puppet show. I've been looking forward to it. A few days later, I quietly joined Apex Dynamics. Lauren wanted to throw a massive welcome party and invite the press to announce it to the world, but I shut that down immediately. I didn't want unnecessary drama. She understood without arguing. Don't worry, Leo, she said, patting her chest. I know you hate all that corporate nonsense. You just focus on what you do best, designing brilliant things. Turn your genius ideas into reality. She waved her hand, smiling confidently. As for the difficult suppliers and nitpicky distributors, leave them to me. A warmth spread through my chest. It was a feeling of being seen and valued, something I had never once received from Sophia. At Apex, I threw myself into developing a new product. Lauren gave me an astonishing amount of freedom and control, greenlighting resources without question. All the bold, radical ideas Sophia had rejected as too aggressive, too expensive, or too complex were not only accepted here, but nurtured. Inspiration poured out of me. I had a powerful sense that we were creating something that would completely change the industry. Just as the new product neared completion, I received a call from an unknown number. It was Sophia, her voice heavy with exhaustion. Leo, I know I was wrong. I hung up before she could finish and made a mental note to change my number. The next evening, when I returned to my apartment building, she was there waiting. She wore a pale yellow dress, one that used to be my favorite. The moment she saw me, her eyes lit up and she hurried over. "Leo, you're finally back," she said softly, holding up a thermos. "You haven't eaten, have you?" "I've been learning to cook. I made something for you to try." For a dizzying moment, I saw the woman I had first fallen in love with, the Sophia I had loved down to my bones. But that memory had long since been crushed to dust by her own hands. "If you have nothing else to say, Ms. Reed, please leave," I said, my voice like ice. "Leo, please," she begged, grabbing my hand. I fired Caleb. "We can go back to how things were. Don't you dare use the past to disgust me," I spat, yanking my hand away. "You don't have that right." I turned toward the building entrance. "I was wrong, Leo. I was really wrong. Please forgive me," she cried desperately. "You wanted to marry me, right? We can go tomorrow. We'll get the license. I promise." "No, thank you." I stopped and looked her straight in the eye, speaking each word with chilling clarity. "Sophia, I am genuinely, sincerely grateful to you. Thank you for not showing up at City Hall that day. You're the one who cut the final thread. You set me free. No. You love me. You love me," she repeated, her voice unraveling, madness flickering in her eyes. I didn't look back. I walked inside and closed the heavy door behind me. For the next few days, Sophia waited outside my apartment, putting on one tragic performance after another. It was exhausting. Finally, after a call to building security, she stopped coming. Later, through the grapevine, I learned the full story. Reed Innovations, once an industry titan, collapsed faster and more completely than I ever imagined. Caleb Gordon, the man Sophia had placed all her faith in, drove the company straight into the ground. Every major project he led, with her full backing, was a catastrophic failure. Design flaws, broken promises, terrible user experiences, clients fled in droves. In a fit of rage, Sophia fired him. But in a final act of betrayal, Caleb packaged Reed's core intellectual property, contract details, and sensitive client data and sold it cheaply to their hungriest competitors. Furious and full of regret, Sophia pressed charges. Caleb ended up in prison, getting what he deserved, but it was far too late. Reed Innovations was left a hollow shell of its former self. Meanwhile, Apex Dynamics, powered by the product I designed, rapidly dominated the market and became the new industry leader. When Sophia learned I was working at Apex, she stormed into our headquarters, her desperation curdling into rage. She stood in the middle of the gleaming lobby and shrieked. "Leo Vance, you traitor!" Her voice was raw, venomous. "It was you. It had to be you pulling the strings. You watched Reed Innovations burn and did nothing. You ungrateful snake. I bet you're happy now, aren't you?" Her accusations echoed through the bright, modern space, sounding completely unhinged. The news reached me in seconds, and I rushed downstairs, but Lauren was already there. She stood in front of Sophia, unleashing a rapid-fire barrage of razor-sharp words. "You have the audacity to call anyone a traitor, Sophia? Open your eyes. Who drove Leo away? Who threw away a true partner for a useless, spineless leech? Who let an incompetent fool sign away major contracts? Who was careless enough to leak trade secrets?" She didn't pause. "It was you. From start to finish, it was all you." Lauren's voice cracked through the air like a whip. "What gives you the right to come here and make a scene? That mouth of yours? The one that's only good at blaming others for the grave you dug yourself? Wake up, Sophia. Your life is a mess because you made it that way. You threw away gold because you preferred digging through a sewer for a shit-covered rock." In the office, Lauren was warm and approachable. But when she faced an enemy, her entire presence transformed. She became a predator, fierce, ruthless, utterly dominant. Sophia, withered and pitiful, stumbled backward, completely overwhelmed. There was no trace left of the powerful Iron Lady she once was. Finally snapping, Sophia lunged at Lauren. "It was you, you did this." Slap. I arrived just in time, my hand connecting sharply with Sophia's cheek. She stared at me, stunned, her expression frozen in disbelief. "Leo, you hit me." "I'm sorry," I said, my voice completely devoid of emotion as I looked at her like she was a stranger. "But I will not tolerate you disrespecting my boss." "No, you wouldn't. You're not this cruel." My words drained the last of the strength from her body. She collapsed onto the floor, sobbing. In that moment, she finally understood. The man whose loyalty she had taken for granted, whose value she only recognized after personally pushing him away and trampling his dignity, was gone forever. Back in my office, Lauren bounced over to me, her eyes shining like a kid who'd just won a fight. "That was a pretty good takedown, right? Did it help you blow off some steam?" "Don't you ever do that again," I said, my voice low with reprimand. "You don't know what a desperate person is capable of. She could have hurt you." "Sorry," Lauren said, making a pitiful face that didn't match her defiant tone at all. "I'll do it again next time." I sighed. I had no defense against this woman. I turned to leave, but she blocked the door. She clasped her hands behind her back, tilted her head, and batted her eyelashes. Drawing out her words in a teasing sing-song voice, she said, "Mr. Vance, I just avenged you in the most spectacular fashion. Don't you think I deserve a little thank you?" I looked at her face, so close to mine, her expression clearly screaming, "Give me my reward." I was speechless, trying to think of what to say. Any material gift would feel cheap and distant. As I stood there, frowning in thought, Lauren's playful smile deepened. She suddenly rose onto her toes, her cheeks flushing slightly. She leaned in close, her voice dropping to a whisper meant only for me, laced with a surprising vulnerability and a seriousness I had never heard from her before. "Or maybe, you could just be mine." 3 months later, Lauren and I got our marriage license at City Hall. There were no ghosts, no drama, just the two of us. That evening, she was curled up on the sofa, lazily tapping away on our tablet, when she suddenly burst out laughing. "You'll never guess what kind of business proposal just landed in my inbox." She handed me the tablet. On the screen was a buyout offer from Reed Innovations. The price was insultingly low, and it came with a bizarre condition, that Sophia Reed be appointed as my special assistant. "She just doesn't give up," I said, raising an eyebrow. "Well, my husband is a genius," Lauren replied, her eyes twinkling with mischief. "Can you blame her?" I pulled out my phone and brought up the photo from our bedside table, a picture of our marriage certificate. "Send her this." Lauren's eyes curved into crescents of pure delight. "Brilliant idea." Her fingers flew across the screen, sending the email. A moment later, she pulled me close, planted a quick, loud kiss on my lips, and snapped a picture at the same time with her phone. "Let me just add a real-time bonus.